Male reproductive system, and I am your coach Dr. Mudassir, Assistant Professor of Physiology. So without wasting any time, let's begin. What are the components of male reproductive system? Male reproductive system consists of a pair of gonads, ducts of male reproductive system, that are epididymis, vas deferens, ejaculatory duct and urethra. It has got accessory glands, that is seminal vesicles and prostate glands and bulbourethral gland. All the male reproductive system structures are supported by spermatic cord, scrotum and a penis. Going into the details, let us see what are the components of gonads. Gonads in male are called as testes. They are located in scrotal sacs. They are ovoid body which weigh around 25 grams. Now, if you see structurally, it has got following coverings, that is tunica vasculosa, tunica albuginea, and the outermost is tunica vaginalis, which has got parietal layer and a visceral layer. Inside these coverings, the testis is divided into many lobules. You can see here it is divided into several lobules. The fibrous septa going from the tunica albuginea towards the interior divide the testis into several lobules. Each lobule consists of a seminiferous tubular compartment, and surrounding it this part consisting of interstitial compartment. Now, if you see the seminiferous tubular compartment, it has got a convoluted component. If you see these tubules, tubular structure, these are called as seminiferous tubules, which has got two components. You can see here in this cortical region, it has got several convolutions, which is called as convoluted part, and towards the core, if you see the medullary region, if you see in the inner part, these convoluted tubules of seminiferous tubules, they become straight, which is called as straight part. So seminiferous tubules have got convoluted part and the straight part, which join to form a structure called as rete testis towards the mediastinum of the testis. Now, this mediastinum of the testis, it continues as efferent ductules. From these rete testis, efferent ductules arise, which fuse to form the epididymis. The epididymis continues as the ducts of male reproductive system, that is the epididymis, which is located here, continues as vas deferens. Vas deferens is a long duct which terminates near the inside the prostate as ejaculatory duct. Now, this ejaculatory duct is a small communication between vas deferens and urethra. At the junction of ejaculatory duct and vas deferens, accessory gland, most important accessory gland of male reproductive system is present, that is seminal vesicles, which contributes to about 60% of semen. Next important accessory gland is prostate gland, which is present below the urinary bladder in the prostatic path of urethra. It is a region where, it is the area where the ejaculatory duct fuses with urethra, that is in prostate. Now, the next gland, the accessory gland in male reproductive system, is Cooper's gland or bulbourethral gland. This hardly contributes to anything. It mainly secretes mucoid secretion, which lubricate the movement of spermatozoa in the semen. Now, let us have a look at the blood supply and lymphatic drainage of the male reproductive system. The blood supply is mainly by testicular artery to the testis. Venous drainage is by testicular vein, which forms pampiniform plexus. Next, there is a countercurrent mechanism operating between pampiniform plexus and testicular artery, which maintains the high concentration of heat and testosterone. That is the important significance. And looking at its lymphatic drainage, the testicular region drains to lumbar and pre-aortic lymph nodes. These male reproductive system structures are innervated by vagus, and sympathetic fibers come from T7 segment of spinal cord. Now let us see the inner part of the testis, that is histology. Histologically, if we see the testis, it can be divided into two parts: seminiferous tubular compartment part and interstitial part. Now you can see here this tubular like structure is the seminiferous tubular compartment, and surrounding it is the interstitial compartment. In the seminiferous tubular compartment, you can see that it has got a outer capsule which has got fibroblast and myoepithelioid cells, which help in pushing the immature spermatozoa out of seminiferous tubules. Inside this capsule is basal lamina. On it you can see cuboidal epithelium, a stratified cuboidal epithelium consisting of two types of cells, the germinal cells and the Sertoli cells. So these cuboidal like cells, these cells what you are seeing here are the developing spermatozoa or germinal cells, and this pyramid shaped huge cell what you are seeing here, this is a Sertoli cells, into which all the spermatozoa and growing spermatozoa are embedded. This Sertoli cell plays a very important role. So let us see what are the important functions of this Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells provides a physical support and nutrition. You can see here it provides a nutrition and physical support to growing spermatozoa. Not only that, it causes phagocytosis of the byproducts of spermatogenesis, that is an important function of testis or gonads, and then it helps in maintenance of blood testis barrier. Now what is this blood testis barrier? Blood testis barrier, it is a barrier between seminiferous tubules and blood formed by tight junctions between Sertoli cells. So here at the basal part of Sertoli cells there are tight junctions which form a barrier called as blood testis barrier. So by definition, it is the barrier between seminiferous tubules and blood formed by tight junctions between Sertoli cells. What is its function? Its main function is to protect the germ cells from blood-borne noxious or toxic agents. For growing spermatozoa, the germinal cell which determine the future progeny of an individual, they have to be protected from the toxic things which might be circulating in the blood. To prevent the effect of these toxic substances, blood testis barrier is present. The other function is to protect the germ cells from blood, to prevent the antigenic products. The another function is to prevent the antigenic products of germ cells from entering the circulation. And last but not the least, the third function of this blood testis barrier is to maintain the composition of seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubular composition is quite different for production and maintenance of spermatogenesis. So that composition is maintained uniquely by blood testis barrier. So these are the three important functions. Fourth important function of Sertoli cell is secretory function. It mainly secretes seminiferous tubular fluid into the lumen. Mullerian duct inhibitory substance which helps in differentiation of indeterminate gonad to develop into male gonad. It also causes secretion of inhibin, which inhibits the production of testosterone till the age of puberty. It also secretes androgen binding protein, which helps in maintaining high levels of testosterone, which is very much required for spermatogenesis. Another substance secreted from Sertoli cells is estrogen and transport proteins, which are required for maturation and transportation of testosterone and spermatozoa. So that was about the Sertoli cells present inside the testis. Next, coming to the interstitial compartment. Interstitial compartment, you can see here it mainly consists of fibroblasts, blood vessels and interstitial cells of Leydig. The important function of this interstitial cells of Leydig is to produce testosterone, which not only maintains spermatogenesis but also causes maturation at the time of puberty and also differentiation of embryo into a male. Now let us see what are the important functions of gonads or testes. It has got two important functions, gametogenic function and endocrine function. Gametogenic function or spermatogenesis. So let us see what is spermatogenesis. By definition, spermatogenesis is the process of formation of spermatozoa from primitive germinal cells. Primordial germinal cells of developing embryo at the beginning during fetal life, they migrate into the testis and become immature germ cells called as spermatogonia. They remain dormant there till the time of puberty. Now at the time of puberty, this spermatogonia, they begin to undergo mitotic division, which begins at the time of puberty and continually they proliferate throughout the adult life. Now these spermatogonia, they divide 5 times. They divide 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once they divide 5 times, they form 32 spermatogonia, which are diploid, which are having 2 sets of chromosomes. After they form 32 spermatogonia, they undergo one more mitotic division to form 64 primary spermatocytes. So here a little maths is required. So each spermatogonium is forming 64 primary spermatocytes till this stage. Now these 64 primary spermatocytes, they undergo meiotic division. Now we know from our preliminary basic biology that one cell, when it undergoes mitosis, it gives to 2 daughter cells, whereas when the cell undergoes meiotic division, it gives rise to 4 daughter cells. Now here 64 primary spermatocytes are undergoing meiotic division. So 64 into 4, which gives rise to 256 secondary spermatocytes. So 64 primary spermatocytes, they undergo meiotic division to form secondary spermatocytes. Now one thing important to remember here is, right from the division from spermatogonium to formation of spermatids, all these development stages are attached by cytoplasmic bridges. You can see here they are attached by cytoplasmic bridges. So they are not separating from each other during the division from spermatogonia up to the level of spermatids. They are attached to each other by cytoplasmic bridges. This attachment of cytoplasmic bridges assures that the development in each developing spermatozoa is uniform and maintained constant. So the significance of cytoplasmic bridges is it maintains uniform development. Now I was telling that spermatogonia undergo 5 mitotic divisions to give rise to 32 spermatogonia, which divide to form 64 primary spermatocytes, and 64 primary spermatocytes, they divide to form 256. They undergo meiotic division to form 256 secondary spermatocytes. Now these secondary spermatocytes, they undergo one more meiotic division to form 512 spermatids. Now this primary 512 spermatids, they undergo a process called as spermiogenesis to produce spermatozoa. So I'll revise the different phases of spermatogenesis along with its definition. Spermatogenesis is production of spermatozoa from immature spermatogonium. The process of formation of spermatozoa from primitive germ cells is called as spermatogenesis. The different phases of spermatogenesis are: Number 1, phase of mitotic division of spermatogonia. Number 2, during the phase of mitotic division of spermatogonia, from one spermatogonium 32 spermatogonia are formed. Next is the stage of formation of primary spermatocyte. So from 32 spermatogonium, 64 primary spermatocytes are formed. These 64 primary spermatocyte, they enter into another phase, that is the phase of formation of secondary spermatocytes. The phase of formation of secondary spermatocytes is a meiotic division. So 64 primary spermatocytes, they undergo meiotic division to form 256 secondary spermatocytes. Next phase is the phase of formation of spermatids. 256 secondary spermatocytes, they undergo mitotic division to form 512 spermatids. Now these spermatids, they undergo a process of spermiogenesis to form spermatozoa. That is the final phase of spermatogenesis. So what are the changes? Let us see. Spermiogenesis by definition is the process of morphological changes in spermatids to form spermatozoa. It occurs in the deep folds of cytoplasm of Sertoli cells, which we have seen in while discussing the histology of testes. What are the changes? Let us see. The nucleus of spermatids, it forms head of the sperm. The Golgi apparatus forms acrosome in the head part of spermatozoa. Mitochondria surrounds the tail, which provides energy for the movement. The cell membrane persists as the covering of spermatozoa. The microtubules and the centrioles organize to form a flagellum. So let us see what are the different parts of spermatozoa. It mainly measures around 65 microns, 50 plus 10 plus 5, 65 microns. Out of this, head part measures 5 microns, which is anteroposteriorly flattened, flask-like structure. Here you can see pyramidal structure. At the top of the head, you can see there is acrosome here, acrosome, which is modified Golgi apparatus. It contains an enzyme hyaluronidase, which helps in penetration of spermatozoa into the ovum. Below it is the neck part, the narrow neck part, where the basal body and centriole basal body of flagellum is present. Beyond it is the tail part. Tail part has got 3 components: the middle piece, the principal piece, and the end piece. In the middle piece of the tail, you can see mitochondria surrounding it, which provides the energy required for the movement of flagellum. So basically a sperm consists of head part and the tail part, and it has got following divisions. So we will move beyond this. Next, storage and maturation of sperm. Generally, 2 testes produce around 120 million sperms per day, and they are stored in epididymis and are kept dormant by multiple inhibitory substances secreted from the ducts. And they are kept dormant for about a period of 1 month, and beyond which they can be ejaculated out. While moving through the male reproductive system and through female reproductive system, they undergo maturation. So whatever spermatozoa which are coming out of epididymis and vasa deferens, they are immature as they are maintained dormant by inhibitory substances secreted from the ducts. They are non-motile and they are very weak. Now while they are passing beyond vasa deferens through the ejaculatory duct and into the female reproductive system, they undergo certain maturation stages, which is like activation of motility of the flagellum, so on and so forth. The multiple changes that activate the sperms for the final process of fertilization on contact with the fluids of female genital tract is called as capacitation. So this capacitation is another component of maturation which occurs in female reproductive system. So capacitation is a process which capacitates the sperms to attain the ability to fertilize the ovum. So this occurs when it comes in contact with the fluids of female reproductive system. So that is about storage and maturation of sperm. Next, semen and semen analysis. Volume 2.5 to 3.5 ml per ejaculation. Components of semen are fluid and the sperm, which contribute to 10%, and then fluid from seminal vesicles, which contributes almost 60%, consisting of fructose, which provides energy, and prostaglandins, believed to aid in fertilization. Next is the fluid from prostate glands, which contributes to only 20%. Remaining 10% is contributed by bulbourethral glands in the form of mucoid secretions, which lubricates the movement of spermatozoa. Now let us see semen analysis. Volume, it should be around 2 to 5 ml per ejaculation. If it is less than that, then it indicates that person might be having problem with there might be some obstruction in male ducts of male reproductive system. Now why do we do this seminal analysis is, nowadays we are seeing a lot of cases of infertility and impotency. Now what is infertility and what is impotency, later on I will be discussing the definitions, but these are the problems of modern age. In this 21st century, we are facing a lot of cases of infertility. So as a basic healthcare professional, we should know the analysis of semen to diagnose or to know whether the person is suffering from any kind of disorders which is leading to infertility or sterility or impotency. Okay, so first thing what we see in the analysis of semen is the volume. If the volume is less, it indicates that there is obstruction in male reproductive system, the duct system of male reproductive system. Next we see the motility. Normally more than 60% of the sperms should be motile. If they are not motile, then it indicates the problem with either seminal vesicles or prostate glands. These are the glands which secrete and activate the motility of sperms beyond vas deferens. Next is the count. Less than 20 millions per ml labels the person infertile or sterile. Normally the count of sperms per ml should be more than 40 millions per ml, and normally it is 100 millions per ml. This is normal. Okay, so from 20 to 40 millions per ml is borderline infertility or sterility, and below 20 million sperms per ml is labeled as infertile or sterile. Next we see is liquefaction. Generally the semen should liquefy within half an hour. Now looking at the morphology which we see in the microscope. So normally we know that a sperm contains a head part and a tail part. So during production there might be problems like this: bifid head, bifid tail, or thin head, or circular tail, or so on and so forth. These might be the problems, but morphologically we should have morphologically normal sperms should be seen up to a range of 70%. More than 70% of the sperms what we are seeing in the microscope in semen should be normal, having a normal head and a tail. And you might find these abnormalities which are limited up to 30%. If a person is having, if a sample which we receive for semen analysis is having the abnormalities like these, more than 30%, then the person might be suffering from sterility or impotency. Next is pH. Normally the pH varies from 7.3 to 7.5. Next is the fructose content. The fructose content is 2 to 7 milligram per ml. The other biochemical constituents are prostaglandins, ascorbic acid, flavins, phosphorylcholine, ergothioneline, fibrinolysin, fibrinogenase, acid phosphatase, zinc, phospholipids, cholesterol, spermine, citric acid, phosphate, bicarbonate, and hyaluronidase. Hyaluronidase is a enzyme, potent enzyme, which helps in penetration of sperms into the ova. So its levels are also estimated in semen analysis. Now going beyond semen analysis and looking into how it is regulated. Mainly it is controlled by hypothalamo-hypophyseal testicular axis. As in my class on Introduction to Endocrinology, I said that hypothalamus plays an important role in regulating the different hormones secreted from other endocrine glands. So from hypothalamus, gonadotropin releasing hormone GnRH is released, which acts on anterior pituitary and causes the release of two important hormones, luteinizing hormones and follicle stimulating hormone. Luteinizing hormone released from anterior pituitary acts on Leydig cells and causes production of testosterone. The follicle stimulating hormone released from anterior pituitary acts directly on Sertoli cells and promotes spermatogenesis. The luteinizing hormone acts on Leydig cell to produce androgenic hormones, androgens or testosterone, which acts on again Sertoli cell and promotes spermatogenesis. Now from Sertoli cells, another hormone called as inhibin is produced, which exerts a negative feedback effect on production of follicle stimulating hormone. The testosterone released from Leydig cells, it has negative feedback regulation of luteinizing hormone and gonadotropin releasing hormone. This is how hypothalamo anterior pituitary testicular axis functions for normal production of spermatogenesis. Other hormones involved in spermatogenesis are growth hormone. It plays an important role in mitotic division and growth of spermatozoa. Another hormone is testicular hormones or androgens. These are very important for meiotic divisions. Meiotic division. So this is how spermatogenesis is regulated by hypothalamo anterior pituitary gonadal axis and growth hormone and testicular hormone. Now let us have a look at factors affecting spermatogenesis. Important factors are temperature. Adequate temperature has to be maintained, which is about 2 degrees lesser than body temperature, which is maintained by two mechanisms. One is countercurrent mechanism operating between testicular artery and pampiniform plexus, and also location of testes outside the body into the scrotal sacs. Next is seasonal variation. Generally, sperm count increases during winter as the temperatures are down when compared to the sperm count during summer season. So these are the factors affecting spermatogenesis. Now let us see another function of gonads, that is endocrine function. Endocrine function is production of hormones. So the hormones produced from gonads are androgens, which are produced from interstitial cells of Leydig, which I have mentioned earlier, and there are Sertoli cells which produced three types of hormones: estrogen, inhibin, and activin. Estrogen is produced by aromatase enzyme present in Sertoli cells, which converts the androgens into estrogens. Another hormone produced is inhibin and activin. What is the role of inhibin? As I have stated earlier, it inhibits the production of spermatogenesis up to the age of puberty, and also it exerts a negative feedback control on the release of follicle stimulating hormone from anterior pituitary. Now we will see what are androgens, which are produced from interstitial cells of Leydig. Androgens are chemically three. One is testosterone, another one is dihydrotestosterone, and third one is androstenedione, which is not mentioned here. Rate of secretion is around 4 to 9 milligrams per day, and they are transported bound to plasma albumin and sex hormone binding globulin. They are also transported into the seminiferous tubule by androgen binding protein secreted from Sertoli cells. Their mechanism of action, how these androgens act. Androgens are basically steroidal hormones, so directly they can penetrate the cell, and they have receptors present inside the nucleus. So when the steroidal hormones or androgens, they penetrate the target cell, they act on the receptors present in the nucleus, and they cause sexual differentiation, sexual maturity at the time of puberty, spermatogenesis, and gonadotropin regulation. So these are the important actions. So based on the age of development, the actions of testosterone can be divided into its action before delivery or during fetal life, which are mainly development of male reproductive organs from indifferent gonads. And next is the descent of testes. So testosterone plays an important role in descent of testes from the abdomen into the scrotal sacs. So during development in the fetal life, the gonads, they grow inside the abdomen of the fetus, so they are abdominal organs initially. During the later stage of pregnancy, they migrate via the inguinal canal into the scrotal sacs. So that is the descent of the testes from abdomen into the scrotum, which is supported or caused by testosterone. Next important action of testosterone is at the age of puberty, which is development of primary and secondary sexual characters. What are primary sexual characters developed? That is enlargement of male reproductive system organs. Secondary sexual characters developed under the influence of testosterone are distribution of hair over the pubis, around the linea alba, on the face and the chest. There is change in the voice, as there is thickening of larynx and thickening of the vocal cords, which makes the voice deep and low pitched. There is increase in the thickness, which can contribute to even acne, which is quite commonly seen. See, the testosterone can get converted into estrogen. Estrogen can also get converted into testosterone. Or in males, the acne is seen due to the effect of excessive keratinization caused by testosterone, whereas in females, the adrenal androgens produced have this effect of excessive keratinization, which leads to acne. This is purely physiological. As the age advances, as the hormones settle down, the problem of acne also resolves. So there is nothing to worry, which we can tell or assure to our patients. Next important function of testosterone is increase in protein formation and muscle development. It also increases bone matrix formation and causes calcium retention at the time of puberty. In the adult life, it increases the basal metabolic rate. It is mainly responsible for spermatogenesis and erythropoiesis by increasing the level of erythropoietin, and it is responsible for temporal recession of hairline. You can see here this adult, he is having recession of hairline. This is called as temporal recession of hairline. This is the hairline here. For females it is like this, but for males generally there is recession. This recession is under the influence of hormone testosterone. Now coming to certain abnormalities which you should know. One is cryptorchidism, another one is male infertility. Cryptorchidism is failure of testes to descend from abdomen into the scrotum, which I was mentioning earlier, which is done mainly under the influence of testosterone. Next important applied aspect or clinical aspect which you should know related to male reproductive system is infertility. It is it is by definition it is inability of sperms to fertilize the ovum, which could be due to many reasons which we have seen while discussing the semen analysis. Next is impotency. Impotency has to be differentiated from male infertility. If you have got any doubts related to these definitions, please put it in the comment section in my YouTube video, and the assignments will be given to you in the subsequent discussions. If you have got any doubts, just let us know. So to summarize, the male reproductive system consists of gonads, a pair of gonads, male ducts of male reproductive system, accessory glands, and the supporting structures. The testis has got important components, that is seminiferous tubular compartment and interstitial fluid compartment. It is in the seminiferous tubular compartment that spermatogenesis occurs, which are supported by Sertoli cells. These Sertoli cells, they subserve to form a main barrier which is called as blood testis barrier, which maintains high levels of testosterone which is required for spermatogenesis, and the spermatogenesis develops from spermatogonia, which divides to form primary spermatocytes. These primary spermatocytes undergo meiotic division to form secondary spermatocytes, which undergo a mitotic division to form spermatids, and these spermatids, they undergo a morphological change to form sperms. Sperms have got two components, head and a tail. The other function subserved by gonads other than spermatogenesis is production of endocrine hormones. The most important hormone produced from testes is testosterone, which helps in development of gonads not only in fetal life but also at the time of puberty, and during adult life it helps in maintaining spermatogenesis, basal metabolic rate, and erythropoiesis. So that's all folk. If you have got any doubts, please put it in the comment section of YouTube video. Thank you.